Welcome to In This Season podcast, where we unpack the most empowering conversations, have exclusive and inspirational interviews, and host special events. Join Tammy, some call her Butterfly, and explore life's purpose by learning how to embrace each season of your life with confidence, strength, and purpose. Whether you're blooming in the spring, or shining in the summer, or embracing change in the fall, or gracefully hibernating in the winter, get ready to be inspired. Join us right here on this season of In This Season podcast with your host, The Butterfly. It's time, no matter what season it is.
Good morning, beautiful people. Come on in. Let's get this barbecue started. Barbecue Daily Motivations for African American Success. Well, we've been rocking with you now, I think 314 days. So come on in, let me know you're out there. How was your yesterday? How is your today going to be? All right, who do we have in with us? Auntie Richetta, all the way from ATL, says, good morning, Butterfly and nephew and family. So thank you, the first to get in this morning. Thank you for rocking with me. Brandon should be joining us pretty soon here, I think. So y'all come on in, and how do we do it? How do we come into the barbecue? Hey, we come in feeding the ducks, which is a representation of us feeding our own lives, right? I have this question, pimping wearing you, or you wearing the pimping? How is life wearing you, or you wearing life? Are you living to die? Let's get this barbecue going. Let these ducks go for a minute here. There he is. All right. Let's bring them on in. Good morning, D. How's it going?
Good morning. Good. How you doing, Mom?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Glad to see you this morning. Do it this morning.
You too. You too. Good to see you. How's your morning going? Everything? What are you up to? Have you been up? Have you just getting up?
No, I've been up. I went to bed, butterfly time, meaning at a good time, and got some good rest. Just ready for the day. Got up early and got into my war room and man, y'all need to get y'all a war room. Y'all probably so sick of me talking about this, but y'all need to. It's different air. It's a different aroma. Man, woo! I'm telling you. So I got up, got myself going, got in there, and just had some time to spare here this morning. It felt good not to just kind of rush around, and I had like 30 minutes waiting on the show. Like, oh, now what I'm gonna do now?
Oh wow!
So I'm good, ready for the day. I'm excited. I'm going to speak to the babies tomorrow. I did this a couple of years now straight, so I'm speaking to some 3rd through 5th grades tomorrow. So I've been contemplating that, but I'm excited. I prayed about that this morning.
Where at? You ain't gotta tell us, but
yeah. Well, at an elementary school here in Memphis. So yeah.
Okay. Congratulations, Mama.
Yeah.
Because that's big. I mean, you get the chance to impact some little lives.
I love it. I just being able to speak to the babies and pour into them in any way I can. And I hope that they hear something that will, change the way they think of life, about themselves. So I'm ready for them, speaking to them about words. Words have power. And so we're gonna speak on communication. So y'all be in prayer that the babies are receiving, and even the teachers, even the teachers and the staff, that something is received that will change their life. So
first thing I heard about words, I remember was sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Mm.
And I was like, well, I don't know
Yeah.
if that's true,
Yeah.
you know, because that hurt,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So
I think that's maybe about getting to a point in life where they you process it. It still
right,
hurts, sure, but I think is more telling us don't allow words to hurt us or stop us. But hurt
right,
is expected. You know, I shouldn't say expected, but the words are going to hurt you, especially coming from some people. But that
but
to
they won't
me,
ever stop
the
you.
point. Right, right. It's a good lesson to learn that, we can, sure, they're going to hurt, but how do you process the hurt and why? Is it the person that it's coming from? Is it what they said? Is it both? The timing in your life? So hurt is like your growing pains. Hurt sometimes is a good thing because it allows you to open up those wounds. Sometimes words
Right.
open up wounds and sometimes they close the wounds.
Yeah.
Sometimes when people say something that are hurtful to you and they continue to do so, get out of their space. You know, if that's their memo, hey, let them go.
Right.
I'm
Right.
talking about don't be attached. Don't be attached to people, especially, So, all right, let's get into it.
Let's
Brandon,
do it, guys. Let's do it. Yep. Good morning and welcome everybody to the In This Season podcast, where we go through daily motivations for African American success, a great book by Dennis Kimbro. If you haven't gotten the book, please go
what?
and get that book.
Miss Brandon says Nikki Giovanni passed away.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh,
I hate to
wow.
hear that. Good.
That's
She lived in Knoxville. Yeah.
Yeah,
She
that's the lady you
that's
speak
Miss.
about a lot.
Yep. She's in Knoxville where I went to school at University of Tennessee, and has become good friends with one of my really good friends, older, like a sister to me, Miss Angela Davis, who's a journalist out there. But man, I was just thinking about Nikki Giovanni last week.
Hmm.
We actually have spoken about her on this show.
Hmm.
She's the one who had that she was a poet, a writer, but she also had a
Hmm.
really good dialogue with I can't think of the brother's name right now.
We go through that every
James
time we
Baldwin.
talk.
James
Yeah,
Baldwin.
yeah.
She had a really good conversation with him. So if y'all can check that out, man, that's definitely
Hmm.
a loss for you know for the people, because she was great. She was great, and she was still doing a lot of work, a lot of
Hmm.
that needed work in Knoxville. Um, so I have to reach out on that side and offer condolences. But yeah, I didn't know
Hmm.
Miss Giovanni had passed. Yeah, but
Yeah,
y'all,
that's
we will.
overnight, today, yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. Miss Brendan,
Hmm.
was that today, yesterday? Kind of we're kind of out of touch, but so
Oh,
Brandon, I don't know if I asked, how are you doing this morning? I know, and how are the babies?
I'm doing good. I got some good sleep for the most part. I got up maybe 4 or 5, and did my face God before I face the world kind of thing. Son is still a little sick. My daughter hasn't gotten up yet, but my son woke up coughing, so
Mm.
he was like, "Daddy, why am I still sick?" Like, because he goes through these highs and lows where he thinks he's done. He's like, "I'm not sick anymore," and then he wakes up and he's like, "Daddy, what happened? How do we get the cough out?" Or he's asking me very interesting questions, as if just if you could imagine your first time being sick. I think this is the first time where he's actually realizing, hey, like I am sick right now.
Mhm,
My
mhm.
body is sick. So it's interesting to kind of contextualize what's happening to him, and then now my daughter's under the weather. She's dealing with a little less symptomatic, but the first one that gets it is always the one who catches the brunt of it, and
Mhm.
then everyone else kind of has the antibodies because they've started to develop them, and pass them around. So she's catching it a little bit better than he did, but hopefully we'll have them both good here soon.
Okay.
Yeah, but I got some sleep. I slept with him a good bit yesterday, because I've noticed that children heal faster when you just hold them. Because I guess naturally outside of modernity, when people had to slave at work, and things like that, mothers, fathers, whoever, someone would be holding the child while they were sick, right? They would hold the child, and it gives the child some type of comfort and lowering of anxiety, so their immune system can do their thing. But from what I understand now, most people, when the child gets sick, they say to stay in your room, and there's this isolation thing, and isolation doesn't cure it. It may stop the spread, but it doesn't help at all.
Right.
It only, in my opinion, exacerbates it. So I just held him for a while, and her too. And at one point, we were both just sitting on my recliner, just sleep and relaxing, hugged up, you know. And I wish they weren't sick, but there was no place I'd rather be. So
Yeah.
we had a good time.
Nothing like love and the human touch that expresses love. So,
Mm-hmm.
and our
I said,
babies, I mean, there's something about when you hug babies, there's a closeness that they long for because they're so, attached inside the womb,
yeah, yeah.
time
And
they're
I wish
so,
I would have known that more when my daughter was young, because we
mhm,
were told, okay, if she cries, just it's going to be part of those times that some points of the night, just let her, let her go. And I'll never forget my late grandma Irene said, "No, baby, don't do that. It ain't good for her little heart." And I
mm,
remember her saying that. Me and Stella looked at each other and were like, "Yeah, that don't make no sense.
yeah.
These doctors and people, they don't know what they talk about. No, like we'll get sleep later. We grown. You know what I mean? Like we'll take a nap tomorrow." But they were
Who
saying that
told you
after
that?
there were, I mean, a number of people, doctors were just like, at a certain point, if the babies would just, they want you there, and the real reason is you're not supposed to leave your child. So like, not even in the crib, it's better for them to literally sleep attached to the mother.
Because
So
they've
there's
been there
there's
for 9 months. Like they've
there's a
been, yeah.
there's a story, not a story, but there's some research that says, I think you can find it on YouTube, that says that American babies cry more, right? They found American babies, or babies in the West, cry more than African babies, more than Asian babies, more than you know babies from South America, right? Because they are held less. Whereas in Africa, you
Mhm.
always see the mother with a baby attached to her,
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
on her, or on her back, or something like that. In Asian countries, very similar thing, especially more in the rural areas. Same thing in South America, but here in America, man, as soon mama ain't even done healing, and her butt is back at work, where
Yeah.
she where the West tells her she's supposed to be. Um, and in Europe they have paternity leave and maternity leave, and here our women can't even get off for a short term to take care of their baby without being without being hurt for it in some way, financially, socially, in some kind of way. So many things to correct and to unlearn, right? From our own history to how we raise our children. So may God bless us, and allow us to benefit from this knowledge, and may the ignorances that we might have, all of us, no matter where you're from, may those be um, may those be diminished, so, and not harm us at all, and harm our children. But mama, let's get in the show. I got
All
my
right, let's
coffee.
get into it. Um,
I'm about to let it get cold. Oh, shout out to Big Mike and Brenda, who got their body butters yesterday. Miss Brenda, I think he might be bringing it to you today, but Mike has it. So let me know how y'all like it, and how it feels on your skin, and just
and
any
hair.
any and hair, yeah, and your beard, Uncle Mike. I told you that as well. So y'all let us know how that goes. But y'all, let's jump into the show. So of course, you guys know we have been reading Daily Motivations for African American Success by Dennis Kimbro. I know mine. There's the space right there. My book's all jacked up. It's because I open it a lot. It becomes a friend, so I throw it around, and I do the rest of my friends. But anyway, we've been reading through this book, Daily Motivations for African American Success. And this book will help you focus on the thoughts, attitudes, and deeds that will lead to the achievement of your true goals. And 365 short, powerful motivations, one for each day of the year. Dennis Kimbro, author of The Popular Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, leads us to discover how to use the present moment and our own gifts to transcend labels, cultivate a positive attitude, become wise enough to know when to say yes and when to say no, and how to look inward for answers to life's challenges. So each motivation begins with words of wisdom from such distinguished and celebrated African Americans as Malcolm X, Marion Wright Edelman, Whoopi Goldberg, Charlene Hunter Galt, Bill Cosby, Carl Rowan, Mother Hale, Reverend Leon Sullivan, and hundreds of others. This treasure trove of practical inspiration will give you fresh encouragement every day of the year, and what it teaches will last you a lifetime. So let's get to it today, y'all. It is December the 10th. This month is already going by fast and over a third over. Already a third over. Today's title on December 10th is Going with the Flow. Going with the Flow. It's a shorter one.
Mm-hmm.
And Mary Frances Berry, the educator and activist, gives us our quote of the day. And Mary said, "The question is not always where we stand, but in which direction we are headed." The question is not always where we stand, but in which direction we are headed. Life is showering its gifts upon us at this very moment. A force of love and light is streaming toward you from all angles at all times. All you have to do is allow it to pour in. Blessings are being offered to all of us without condition or limit. We can look at our capacity through condition. We can look at our capacity through the symbol of the hourglass. God's infinite abundance is above us, waiting for us, waiting to flow down. And like an hourglass, we have the space to hold it all. Our mind is located at that skinny little juncture of the upper and lower vessels. It regulates how much can come through. If our mind is small, tight, and fearful, only a few meager grains will drop down. However, if our mind is open, free, and expansive, all of God's riches can pour through. We receive as much as we let in. Positive thinking means seeing the blessedness in everything. It requires a complete revision of the way we view life. It means tearing down our judgments and opinions of what is good and what is bad, and what is right and what is wrong. It means having an open mind. And with this open mind, we can receive all the blessings that God has to offer. And our affirmation for the day says, "I open my mind to the prosperity, happiness, and health that God has to offer." Again, I open my mind to the prosperity, happiness, and health that God has to offer. Over to you, Mo. I know I think you had to put your thing back and put your power source back in the computer.
Yeah. Had it plugged up on one end, but not in the other end. It was working last night and plugged my heater up in here and unplugged my cord and forgot. So, hey, got to go with flow, right?
I heard it. I was like, I hope she get it before it go off.
I know I was scrambling too, but I got it. I got it. I got it.
Cool. Did you catch that motivation?
I did. I did. I actually sat and read this one last night.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because I wasn't sure, if you were gonna be on. So when I'm not, I like to just kind of read it and so that I can, do better because I'm trying to move everything, put the banners out and all that. So I read it last night. Um, it's a short one, like you said, a very good one. And initially, I thought it was going to be about something else with just the title, going with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, my interpretation of it is now about going with the flow. It's easy for us to go with the flow, and we do that a lot. Just thinking that we cannot change anything, and what's going to be is going to be. However, I feel like we don't go with the flow when it as it relates to God. Like
Mm.
we will often fight that battle or just dismiss it. Um, so the question is not always where we stand, but in which direction we are headed. I think it's deeper than that because where you stand for sure, but are you moving? Are you just standing? Are you going in any direction? Or are you just standing, waiting? It says life is showering its gifts upon us at this very moment, right? Even right now, you guys, a force of love and light is streaming toward you from all angles at all times. At all times. There's never a moment that I don't believe God's goodness, like the song says, is running after us. It's just that we're running from it,
Mm.
right? We're running towards everything else, right? But do we really sit in and seek the knowledge of God? The knowledge so that we get the understanding of are we standing and we're moving which direction we're going? Are our desires his desire, right? Are we complete, right? So sometimes we're standing, but we're not headed anywhere. And sometimes we're moving and not really headed anywhere, right? So it says, all you have to do is allow it to pour in. Allow it to pour in. What is it? What is it? What is it? Because something is pouring in. Something is pouring in, but what is it? Is it your flow, the world's flow, God's flow? What is it? And are you capable of allowing it to pour in? This is good for me because this is a question that when I saw it last night, I thought about the situation that I've talked about the few over the few days that made me really question the degree, right, of how much I value myself. Is it a little or is it a lot? Right? There's this thing I remember talking about, how you pray for something. We touched on this a little bit yesterday. And then it's almost so you're so surprised when it happened, almost as if you didn't expect it. So as a result, you guys, I'm going back to my prayer journal and start checking things off as God answers them, right? As he answers the prayers. I was in conversation with a lady and I spoke about her. And in the midst of that, we were talking about her son who's we were talking about the love. How do you go from love to the kind of hate that happens in the midst of relationships now where people are taking each other's lives or just totally falling out of love and just being so disrespectful to one another. But we also got talking about our children. And this is a lady that's not of my race. And she talked about, Brandon, this will be interesting, how she does with her daughter is different than what she does with her son. She overprotects him. She showers him a little bit more than she does with the daughter, but she raises the daughter to be more independent. Why? Because she felt that she had to be, right? And I told her, say, this is different because you're a white woman. We thought this was like in our world only, right? But in the midst of that, and that's another story, but in the midst of that, I said, okay, I'm going to pray. I'm going to be in agreement with you. And when I go in the war room, I'm going to pray. So yesterday I sent her a message and said, hey, just want to let you know, I prayed for, and she texted me back and she said, he came home yesterday and he stayed because
Mm.
he left and he had not been there. Right. And it was not me, you guys, just a sign again from God. Right. And that's what I was like, you know what? I got to start keeping up with these things because God is showing us something. He's calling us to his flow. He's calling us towards his goodness, right? He's running after you. Which direction are you going? Are you running towards him? Are you just standing? Are you running a totally different direction, flowing the opposite direction, right? Positive thinking means seeing the blessedness in everything, you guys. Because what does scripture say? Count it all joy. And yeah, it's hard to count it all joy sometimes. I tell you, the more you run towards him and after him, and you allow the going of his flow, what you go through, you know that it's happening for you and not to you, right? It's pruning you, it's perfecting you, it's growing you, it's changing you, it's healing you from the things that keep you from going with the flow, but the flow of God. It requires a complete revision of the way we view life. And I'll stop right there. It requires a complete revision of the way you view life. Not just life, but your life. Because how you view your life is how you view the world and how you will view the lives of others. It's how you will perceive life, receive life, right? And you'll find yourself going the opposite of the flow. And I mean the flow of God, your creator, the God who created you, the God of second chances, many chances, the God of agape love, unconditional agape love, the God of grace, mercy, favor for those who are so undeserving of it, like little old Tammy here, right? So y'all, this is great, and it's not always where you stand, but are you moving? And if so, in which direction are you headed? Over to you, Brandon.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you. A lot of that resonated with me from what you said. When you go with the flow, the title of today's show, going with the flow, it's usually when we say this, it usually means that we are taking the path of least resistance,
Mm,
right? Usually it means we are taking a path that is already going in this direction. We're not fighting the current. And what do I mean by fighting the current? If you look at that as a sentence, it could be taken in two different ways. You're fighting the current situation. You know, it's not just electric, like, or the flow of a medium. Like, it's not just you're fighting the water, you know, or fighting gravity in an uphill battle. It's you're fighting the current situation, the current state of being, you know, your current emotion, right? Your current mental state, your current financial state, your current, whatever it is, that is your current. And by going with the flow, we do not mean, or I do not mean, that you settle, that you become lethargic, that you become apathetic, that you become irresponsible or unattentive and neglectful of your current state. But what I do mean about going with the flow is not fighting the current, but doing whatever you know is best, whatever you have been guided, if you seek the guidance of God, not leaning on your own understanding in that regard, but start from a place of guidance. What is best, right? And this guidance can come from a multitude of different places. Of course, face God before you face the world. Of course, seek people of knowledge with whatever situation you're going through. If you have a financial situation, then seek the knowledge of those who may have a degree in finance or in business administration or you know, budgeting and credit services or whatever you have. Seek people of knowledge. If you have issues with your if you were to have issues with your garden, you would seek a gardener. a horticulturalist, a botanist. If you had an issue with your skin, you would seek a dermatologist, right? But it doesn't mean that you wouldn't pray for guidance about which one was best for you. So by going with the flow, don't try to fight the current, right? When you're going against the flow, you're fighting the current. When you go with the flow, you immerse yourself in a sense in the current and knowing that this is a temporary state as well, that this too serves you. And one thing that I've noticed about going with the flow in terms of the context of this book in reference to God's blessings is, and many times we try to fight the current with what we want the current to be, with the state that we want for right now. And I'm not saying that you cannot create beautiful, healthy, vibrant, intelligent um, growth and currents inside of yourself and those emotions and thought processes and mentalities. But at the same time, there has to be a level of submission and a level of trust to know that all you can do is all you can do. To know that the Creator's plans for you may be great, are greater than your own, first off, but may not be in line with what you thought would happen today. And so when the plan goes, you know, the day goes a little differently than you planned, how do you adjust? Does it throw off your entire state of being? Were you a happy person until this one wrench that happened in your plans, and now your entire day is thwarted because you now have an attitude? Do you not understand um, how great God is, to where every person's lives and purposes are interwoven into this greater story of humanity, and how you are playing a vital part in that, if you so choose to be guided. And it is a choice. But if you fight the current state, then you can't see the lessons in it. It's hard to do algebra when you're being chased by a lion. You guys understand that? It's hard to do math when something crazy is going on in your life. So as best as you can, be like Job, who still praised God, even though the walls were caving in. Be like in the book of Mary, glory be to God. I just want to be a servant of God, right? Because when you're in that state, you might not understand. I mean, imagine Mary. How did I get pregnant? She could say, right? These people will stone me, right? For illegal uh, uh, sexual encounters, right? Illicit sex outside of matrimony, something that is so dangerous, especially in the ancient times, because you wouldn't know who the father was, and that would destroy inheritance. And then she comes from a good line of people coming from um, her mother and father being pious people of knowledge. They said your mother was not an unchaste woman, and your father was a pious man. How are you in this situation? So she could have looked at it very much and been like, I can't believe this. And at one point, you know, she was burdened by it, seeking to run away. But there's this peace and calm, and her faith in God said that, I have to trust this, because I know the Lord is more merciful than to burden me with something like this. But whatever it is, I still worship you. I'm still a servant of yours. I was yours in the first place, right? And the hat doesn't ask, why did you put me on backwards today? You know what I mean? Like we know better where shade needs to go on our face than not. So when you go with the flow, it doesn't mean to submit to the world. I'm saying go with the flow with God. Allow the blessings to come in, because you may not know what is up the stream as you're fighting the current. You may not know what you being pushed further downstream could be saving you from, or taking you to. So if you fight the current, you don't see the lesson in it. When you keep trying to do things your way, and this is another example of going with the flow of God, when you try to do things your way and your way only, it never works out. You will be working towards your goals ceaselessly without bearing fruit. Whereas it seems like when you do what God pushes you to do, even though you're like, man, I'm really not sure, but God, I trust you. I sought guidance and I asked what you needed of me. I didn't treat you like you were my merchant. Whereas I'm like, I prayed, so where's my blessing? Right? God is not our merchant. You do not speak to authority in that way. Especially this is the ultimate authority, the most high. Some of you will have more respect to the police officer that pulls you over than the Lord you speak to and pray to, right? Don't go to God saying, I want this and this happened to me, so I need this to happen and this person said this about me and I know that I should have gotten that job, but they got it. And you wouldn't speak to the king like this. You wouldn't speak to a president like this. You wouldn't speak to the CEO of a multinational corporation like this. But we speak to God like he's our merchant, like he's our spiritual vending machine, where we put 25-cent prayers in to get a gumball out. And I'm telling you, this is not the way things go. You must go with the flow. The orders come from on high, from top down, not from bottom up. So we must first submit and seek that type of guidance. And only then, in my opinion, do we get the blessings that are good for our souls. Don't sit back and see everyone else and the things that they might be gaining that are of this world and think that they are better than you or closer to God than you, because you do not know. Some people are tested with poverty and other people are tested with wealth. Some people are tested with power. Some people are tested with weakness. Some people are tested with sickness and disease, and other people are tested with vitality and health. What do you do with it? Do you squander it? What guidance has been it's already sent down to us, to humanity, through the prophets, through prayer, through what have you, to lead us into the right direction with whatever powers and whatever blessings and whatever status that we have received from God. If you count it all joy, then also count it all from God and look at it as a blessing and as a test, because you'd never know which is which. They often come in the same package. You think you're unwrapping a gift, and yes, you may be, but with every level, there's a higher, the higher the level, the bigger the devil. And my faith, it says that Iblis, the Satan, says that I will come at them on your Siratul Mustaqim, which means your straight path. Lord, I will come at them and lie in wait on the path that you have designated for them. I will lie in wait. And I will come from the left. I will come from the right. I will come from before them. I will come from behind them. But it's on the path of righteousness. So don't be surprised if people who are doing bad aren't having the struggles that you might. Maybe, just maybe, they weren't on the path of righteousness. Maybe they weren't on the straight path, the path where there's a methodology of self-correction. But you having that conscious, having that methodology of self-correction, purifying yourself during this life so that you can meet your Lord with a pure heart, with good deeds, and maybe get a portion of God's mercy. They may not be on that same path. So don't compare apples and oranges, because if you bite into an apple expecting it to taste like an orange, if you judge a fish by how well he flies in the air, you will always be disappointed because you are going against the flow of the natural order. So wherever you are in life, be grateful for where you are. Count it all joy. If it has come upon you, thank God for it. All praise be to God, regardless of the situation. Maybe that is your test to see, can you be grateful? I'm not saying complacent. I'm not saying to sit on your hands. I'm saying to, as they say it in my faith, tie your camel and then trust in God. Meaning and that was a reference to, the Muslims pray 5 times a day. And it says that when the time to prayer comes in, and you're on a journey. Imagine you being on a journey and the time to prayer comes in. Only a fool would just jump off the camel as the camel's riding and start praying. By the time he gets done praying, the camel will have been gone. He is now isolated and stuck in the desert. So as you rush to prayer, don't forget to tie your camel up. When you go somewhere, make sure that you put your car in park. You turn your engine off. Be responsible for the gifts that God has granted you and trust in Him. Do your best. Do the best that your hands can do. And all you can do is all you can do. And once you've done that, trust in God. But first, before you even do the work with your hands, ask God for guidance so that where you plant your seeds, where you till your ground, will be fertile or will be blessed, or that you have some guidance in some direction beforehand. Don't try to do it on your own. This is going against the natural flow. There is an order to things. What is the purpose of mankind? What is the purpose of you? What is your purpose? These are questions that you should go to God for and seek direction upon. Don't move without having some resolve between you and your Lord about the next step in your life. Because if you supersede that filter, then who knows? You may be trapped by that devil who's lying in wait for you because you didn't do your armor. You may have parked your car, but you forgot to lock the door. You may have parked the car and left your belongings inside and forgot to lock your door. And so we know to tie your camel means to lock your door, turn your car off, so that when you get done, your car will still be there. We must go to God. We must read the owner's manual, right? For who designed you? What are your natural inclinations? Not the ones superimposed on us by society. What's the natural order of things? Not the one that the secular culture has said has incentivized with benefits for certain actions and demerits for others. What is God's law? Go with that. Go with that flow. Ask for guidance. Ask for purpose. Ask for direction. And then do your best. And a lot of times we do it the opposite. We chase our desires and ask God to help us fulfill our own desires instead of saying, Lord, what is your desire for me? That comes from a place of spiritual humility, where our Lord isn't our desires. Your Lord is who you go to first. If you go to your desires first, you are worshiping yourself. If you go to God first, you're worshiping God. But don't be like the one, here's another note. When the angel of death comes to us, it is of my opinion and belief that the angel of death will present himself in such a way as you were in life. And what do I mean by that? I mean that when the angel of death appears before you to take your soul as instructed by God, it could be a beautiful friend, a gentle person guiding you to another place. And taking your soul will be like pouring a water out of a smooth vessel, right? Where the water flows out gently. If you are a righteous person, if you took the guidance from God first before following your desires, if you went to God before you went to your desires, and you asked God what was your purpose and what was your direction in life, and you were obedient and submitted to His commandments, your death may be like this. Contrarily, if your life was tyrannical, if you were an oppressor, if you helped others oppress others, if you lied, cheated, stole, and you never repented, right? Only followed your desires, then it will be like tearing hair out of steel wool. You won't go with the flow of life and death, right? And the angel of death could appear to you as an ugly monster, as a demon almost, as this scary, as you see with the sickle and you see the iterations of them in the black coat, the black trench coat with the big sickle here to to take your life, and taking that soul due to all of your attachments to this world, your attachments to desire, your attachments to vanity, your attachments to materialism and status. Those attachments will tether you to this earth and to this body to where your soul will not want to leave. But what is death to a believer? What is death but a transportation to your Lord? And what believer would not want to face their Lord? What person who has been guided by God, who has been going with the flow and allowing God's blessings to not only come in, but has also been a blessing to others and allowed their body and their vessel to be a blessing to others, seeking righteousness and deeds and the pleasure of God? Doing it in this way, you are that smooth water. It will be an easy transition. You will not want this world. You will not desire it. You will not have the attachments to it like others might. And that attachment is that hair being pulled out of the steel wool, only bits and pieces coming out, ripping like flesh from bone. Now imagine, what kind of death would you like? A smooth flow, not one of attachment to this world, but one of attachment to the Creator. You will return nonetheless, whether you're attached or whether you're not, right? So have account and take account before the day of account. Because on that day, there is no turning back. On that day, when the soul moves up through the throat and you can no longer speak at the last moments of your life, and when the veil has been removed and that which is unseen, you can now see. And when the soul gets stuck in the throat and you can say nothing else, will it be a flow? Will you be going with the flow? Or will you be holding on to this world and everything in it, despite it perishing nonetheless? So go with the flow today, guys, but know where the flow comes from. Know with where the flow comes from. You're flowing to God, not away from God. The river is always flowing to the ocean, not the other way around. And the ocean is deeper than the river. So where are you flowing today? Are you going against the current, your current situation, your current plight in life, your current success even, right? Are you going against the flow of your own success and the things that you have prayed for? Or are you going with the flow, with God, with purpose? Make that choice today. The choice is yours. Over to you, Mom. You're on mute, sweetie. I talked for so long, you forgot you put it on mute.
No, there was kind of a lot going on. I didn't want y'all to hear all that. Um,
Sorry I took so long. I was
no.
thinking.
You're fine, and we'll jump off. You're fine. I was really blessed by a lot of what you said, and you put a lot in my mind, but I won't share it here. This talks about our mind, you guys. We can lock. I'm sorry. We can look at our capacity through the symbol of an hourglass, and I love that. I thought Brandon was going to touch on that a little bit. God's infinite abundance is above us, waiting for us, waiting to flow down. And like an hourglass, we have the space to hold it all. We have the space, right? But do we know it? Is the space available for God's flow into our lives? And it says our mind is located at the skinny little juncture of the upper and lower vessels, right? So if you've not, and it says it regulates how much can come through. If our mind is small, tight, and fearful, hear that, you guys. If our mind is small, tight, and fearful, only a few meager grains will drop down. However, if our mind is open, free, expansive, all of God's riches can pour through. We receive as much as we let in. Positive thinking means seeing the blessedness, right, in everything, as I said earlier. So, you guys take some time to contemplate on this today And I'm going to ask, if you've not faced God today before you face this show, if you've not sat quietly, if just for but a second or a minute, go before God, go before your Lord, your Creator, and just sit. And if you have nothing to say, right? Sometimes I go in, whoa, it's me, God, because I know I'm off. I know I'm going a different direction. I know I'm trying to take over the flow. So invite God into your life today. Sit before Him, asking for the flow, expecting the flow, but more importantly, being open to the flow, an open mind for the flow, right? And we should do this when it's good, when it's bad, when it's ugly, all above, because life pops on us, right? So you guys take some time to reflect on this. Read James chapter 1 today, which is about our faith. Mainly, I believe that James is really teaching us about faith, right? How to grow in some soil that we didn't want to be planted in, because life happens. But count it all joy. Count it all joy, because He's moving you to the flow so that you can go with His flow, right? So that's all I have, Brandon. I wrote down some more stuff, but I'll say that. I want you guys. Let's take the time to go back and just sit in this ourselves, right? But be prepared to open your mind, right? To be ready to consider things without prejudice or prejudgment. Even people, even people. We sum life up in people by this outwardly world. Brandon, if you remember, we read about how people think about a person who may live in a trailer park with $80,000 saved in the bank, a little car that's paid for, how we pass by the trailer park and have these assumptions of who these people are and their lifestyle. And Brandon, you made me think about that when you talked about when we think people are doing bad. What is bad? What is bad? Because most times we don't know the full story. You talked about an apple. You bite into it expecting it to taste like an orange. I rarely bite into an apple now expecting it to taste like an apple. It's been a long time. I get them every now and then, where you get that apple that tastes like the apple from back in the day, because it was rightfully grown in soil that's not contaminated, right? It was processed the right way. Patience. We don't even have time to plant things and be patient in the way that God grows them. If we can't wait on an apple or a watermelon, we want to speed the process up, then y'all know what we're doing out with our own lives. So you want to speed the flow up, right? And then when God speeds it up, you want to slow it down. You're fighting yourself. And if you're fighting yourself, you're fighting God, because God is your creator, right? All right, Brandon, let's get out of here.
All right. Thank you, Mom, for sharing that. And thank you all for being here and allowing us to be a part of your morning routine. I really appreciate it. We're going to let y'all get on about your day and brush your teeth and wash your face. But I hope, speaking of your face, that you have faced God before you have faced us, or before you face this world. If you haven't, after this show, take a little time out. Take a little time out and go face your Lord. Present yourself the way you would present yourself to the rightful owner of the universe. All right? We love you very much. We appreciate you. And make sure y'all go to our YouTube channel. If you're on Facebook, go to the In This Season podcast on YouTube. Like and subscribe and turn on those notifications. We'll be back tomorrow, the same time, same place. I hope you will be too. Take care. Peace.
Oh, Brandon, do it for your mama. There you go. All right. Let's go feed these ducks, y'all. Y'all be great. We love y'all. See you tomorrow.
All right. Peace.